let's jump into worship with Pastor Ricky Trinidad.
Good to be back.
Hey, good to be back.
Good to be with you guys in the cabin.
It sounds great in the cabin with the gain and the trim level at 0.
That's right.
Unit 10364, Sam 60.
Sam 60, go ahead.
Good. Today I want to talk about reverb.
Reverb.
Or sound effects.
Rebirth?
Reverb.
Oh,
Reverb, which is short for reverberation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like flatulation?
Is short for, or is long for... Farting. Yeah, to fart.
Oh, to fart. I wonder if
Flatulence.
Jesus ever farted.
You know?
That's
I'm reminded of a commentator who said, where the Bible is silent, I too must be silent.
I wonder if he was silent like that.
I wonder if it smelled or was it holy?
Yeah, well, he ate a lot of fish.
Oh, okay. So it must be fishy.
You know, where the word is silent,
Mahi mahi.
I too must be silent.
All right. So what are you going to be bringing today's show?
Reverberation, sound effects, and if you
reverb.
listen to worship during the 1990s or even 1980s, there's a lot of exaggeration of reverberation, and
Such as
any CD you pick up, and it has
like Keith Sweat.
yeah, like the hello.
So if someone that knows absolutely nothing about sound, they call it the echo.
The echo is another word that you hear. That's right, echo.
The Grand Canyon echo.
It's anything but the true sound. And
Anything
actually
but
what
the true
reverberation is any sound that bounces off any what's called a boundary. Boundaries, for example, walls is a boundary, the carpet, anything that's in the way or an obstacle of sound is a boundary. And anytime sound bounces off the boundary, the sound that's created is called reverberation. Now, there's different kinds of reverberation. There's different kinds of sounds. And that's what you have to think about when you're thinking about echoes or sound effect or reverb.
Okay, let me think about that.
Think about where you're at.
Okay,
Pick a building.
got it.
Concert hall.
Got it.
Small church.
Yes.
Big church.
Yes.
Little church. Small room.
Got it.
Big room.
Yes.
Okay, so think about all those places, wherever you may be, okay?
Yes.
If you have a big church, then you have more room for sound to travel, and obviously sound's going to be bigger. Well, if you don't have acoustic treatment.
Right.
If you're in the gym, the boundaries are a lot harder. Sound isn't absorbed, so that's what you hear. Hey, whoa. You hear a lot of echo.
Got it.
And that's what reverberation. And anytime you're creating a sound effect or an echo, you always want to think about the space that you're creating, and that's what reverberation is. That's what sound effects modules are for. That's what anytime you use an additional resource to create reverb or to create that echo, that's what you want to think about. What kind of space do you want to create?
So let's say if they're listening to this podcast,
This
and this one in particular, they're sitting down, they're listening to their iPod, maybe running, working out, at work. What kind of reverb would they hear out of this?
Well, hopefully not too much, because it's a small room, and we're not looking to create a big voice or a big sound, a big room.
All right, so like in the mornings, I love to listen to talk radio. So I'm listening to, ESPN 710, or I'm listening to a talk show or Dan Patrick in the mornings. What kind of reverb would I get from that? Because they're in big studios.
Yeah, but they're sound treated rooms, so you're not going to hear a lot of reverberation, if any. So there's not really. It's just a true voice that you're listening to.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you add reverb to a source, you are changing the room.
Not the room, because you can't really reconstruct the room, but you are creating spaces. You're manipulating
That's
the space.
what I meant. You're creating a space, a room.
Yes, you're manipulating the space.
Would that be considered the mood?
Yes, that part of it, part of the
Okay.
mood.
So you set the mood up.
Well, just like you spoke of last time about graphics, color, things like that.
So you set the mood like putting out a candle and listening to Brian McKnight.
Maybe lighting the candle.
One.
Would you do if I sang out of tune? Oh no, that's the wrong one.
Wrong song.
Yeah, I got you. So,
I only know 5 golden rings.
so reverb, anything, and if you have a digital console, the cool thing is you like we have an Allen and Heath here at Fado Church. iLife T80. I love it. I'll take it over a Yamaha any day, but I'm not promoting it by any means. I'm not, because they're not sponsoring us. Unless they want to, and if they listen to this, they can sponsor us, and that'll be okay with me too.
It'll be okay with me also.
Good. How about you, Pastor Henry?
It would be okay with me.
Yeah.
The iLife T80.
So with most digital consoles, you can drop in, you can pick any kind of reverb sound and just drop it in the rack automatically. If you have an analog, you have a different module. Some of them have them built in, but you'll say big hall, little hall. It's a space that you're recreating, that you're manipulating in order to create that echo that you want.
So it's kind of like watching Nacho Libre with the big kiss, little kiss,
big hug, little hug. Exactly. Now the question is, how much reverb? Well, I heard a person say, some sound guy at the NAB show, National Association of Broadcasting show. He said, how much reverb should you give? Well, and it's very simply put, turn it up till you can hear it. And once you can barely hear it, turn it down a little bit. So the reverb is not meant to be the voice that you hear completely. It's the sound that creates the mood. So it's something to be felt more than heard. So you don't have it overpowering so that it sounds, wow. And unless you're trying to create that effect at the end of a phrase, like you are the everlasting God, the everlasting God. Yeah.
That's why we recruited him.
You know?
That is why we recruited him.
Yeah. So if you're doing, you are the everlasting God. The everlasting God. The everlasting God. So you added at the phrase, that's okay. Most of the time, though, you're not going to have a sound guy that's messing with sound effects in a worship setting. So you don't want a lot of reverb. You're not trying to recreate a whole space. You just want just enough to create a mood.
Just enough.
To be felt. Just enough not to make a difference in what's going on as far as sound is concerned, but as far as feeling is concerned is what you're trying to do.
Just enough. So that's kind of in a sense of making sure you brush your teeth just enough so you don't have bad breath. Just enough to clip your nails. Just enough so they're not yellow. Just enough.
Wow.
No, I actually do much more than just enough when I brush my hair.
Oh, okay.
Brushing your teeth is very important. You should know you have whiter teeth than all of us.
I know. I try. But you can find these plugins in audio programs and audio software.
Yeah, if you're doing digital recording, there are plugins that you can. There's a lot of, like, we're using Pro Tools, and if I wanted to, I can go in there and add a bunch of reverb in here. Obviously, there's none needed.
Maybe you should do that in post-production.
Add some reverb.
I
could try that. I could do. Well, I can.
Not now, but when you do it later.
Right.
So the general rule is to clip it or stop it when you hear it. You begin hearing it.
You begin hear it and then pull it back a little bit.
And pull it back.
That's what you want. And
just
also,
enough.
Just enough. And I guess a good tip would also be not to solo out a person when you're adding the reverb, but add a reverb so that it blends with the whole mix, because that's another area. A lot of
Very
times,
important.
Yeah, that's huge, because a lot of times we're trying to equalize, which will be another time, where we're trying to add reverb to one person without the entire mix, and it changes. The ambiance changes, the whole dynamic, the whole feel or the mood changes when everyone else is playing and everyone is around. So you always want to try to add mixes or reverbs or create the spaces when people are all playing, when the worship team's all playing, so that you get a good sense of the entire mix and not just one thing.
Love it. That's great, Pastor Ricky.
Reverberation.
Flatulation.
I definitely learned something new today. In all the years that I've been doing media, that's one area I really haven't understood quite well until now. So thank you, Pastor Ricky.
My pleasure.
That's awesome. Well, if you know that, so next time when you are playing with reverb, just make sure that it's just enough, but that when you start hearing it, you've gone a little too far. Just pull
it back.
Just pull it back and set the mood. Pull it back.
Just
reverberation.
enough.
That's right. Well, there's your music talk. Music talk with reverb with Pastor Ricky Trinidad. All right. Let's go into the segue of Tech Talk.
That you don't stop.
Tech Talk that you don't stop.